Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Monster Reviews Marvel Now. This is episode 4, and this is my review of the first arc for, basically the first arc of Thor, God of Thunder. And just to make note that this is by Jason Aaron, and then Asad Ribic is on art. I believe Dean White is on colors. But what's not to like about Thor? And for all intents and purposes, there are 3 different Thors to enjoy during this story arc. Thor basically at 3 different points in his life. It's great to witness the young, cocky, hard-drinking, womanizing version of the past. And then we get the stoic, avenging hero of the present that we're used to. And then finally, we see a battle-hardened, withered, bearded, angry old warrior, King Thor of the future. This enjoyment, though, this method does come at a bit of an expense, as the story can get a bit muddled due to constant jumping from one time period to the next, multiple times per issue. But it is still fun to see these different incarnations of the hero throughout the book. Now I'm going to talk basically about... I'm mainly going to focus on the first 5 issues, but I basically will talk about all 7 issues in some form or the other. Because the first arc, which is issues 1 through 5, and then there's issue 6, which is an origin of the antagonist, and then 7 starts the next 5-issue arc, continuing from where the first 5 issues left off. So this basically is going to be a review of just the first arc, even though I have read beyond that, so neither here nor there. This story, though, is basically a serial killer crime story, and it's on like an epic scale. And what's neat about it is that our detective just happens to be a Norse god. The victims are random gods through multiple worlds, and our killer is a new villain, and his name's Gore. Gore the God Butcher. So I love that element of it, and what the story is, and on the level they tell it. And of course it deals with things like time travel and jumping between worlds and time, and which I'm down with that too. It seems like Marvel's done that also in all new X-Men, maybe some other titles. But yeah, that's all part of it. That's all part of being in comics. So I enjoy that. Jason Aaron, who I'm only familiar with through some of his work outside of Marvel, like Scalped, I've read some Scalped, and I want to read more Scalped. He really gets things going right off the bat, though, with the first issue of this. Even though at the end of the issue you're left wondering a lot of things, like who's killing the gods and why are we jumping around, looking at different Thors and different time periods. Regardless of all that, it's captivating. I like the method in that first issue, and the dialogue is perfect. Jason Aaron's writing a book like this is like a book meant for him to write, and the art couldn't be any better for the story. This art in this, it looks like a painting of Norse mythology or something of that nature. Really adds to the feel of the book, and it's a perfect pairing. What I feel is a perfect pairing of story and art. It really engrosses you into what's going on. And Asad Ribic is great at storytelling, and he does a nice job of the expression of the characters and the overall realistic feel of this book. So the subject matter of the book is dark. It's really dark. As you can imagine, a god butcher. This is a dark story, and the colors can be dark. That can wear on you, especially if you're reading this arc all together, like I do. But things like, but what's neat about that is things like the red on Thor's cape, or a bolt of lightning, or something like that really stands out. But aside from this being a real gritty kind of story, the attitude in this book is also raw and badass, and that seems to be like a Jason Aaron specialty. But it's perfect for this title, like I said. I love the end of the first issue when we get that old tired Thor, and he's sitting on the throne, and he's waiting for his death, and then he's got that long, white, gnarly beard, and then without even hesitation, he just leaps up into battle against the dark minions of the God Butcher. It's moments like that in this book that I really appreciated. As we get into the second issue, we finally see Gore, and then his first. Basically, what this arc is the first encounters or the multiple encounters of Gore, the God Butcher, throughout Thor's life, and obviously it ties in with the element of time travel. But the battle that we see in the second issue, I can't help to think that Gore, the God Butcher, looks a lot like Voldemort from the Harry Potter movies. Sorry if I'm not supposed to say his name, but more fairly, though, he seems to be like a crossbreed from whatever Voldemort is in some alien race from Star Wars. So, being that I couldn't help see that every time I was seeing Gore on the pages, it kind of took away from it. But, oh well. As we move through the first 5 issues, we witness Gore's encounters with the Thunder God at the 3 different stages, and we start to see his motivations and the conflict within him. Gore hates gods, simple as that. They weren't there for him when he needed them, and he thinks that they're all self-centered and that they all should die. So he's going to be the one to kill them. But in this process, we see that he starts taking the shape of a tyrannical god himself. So there is that irony, and you start to see that, and I think it's going to be, more expanded upon as we move forward. But the problem that I have in this tale is that it seemed like they took a long time, a long path in getting to where they needed to get to with their story. I get a little cranky, I guess, sometimes when certain arcs that seem to go an issue or two too long go long, and that is just my opinion on a particular book, on this one in particular. But I just think it could have maybe been told in like 3 issues, and then have the origin of Gore, which I won't talk about, but I feel that it was predictable, the origin of Gore, but well executed. And I think that it will benefit the character in the overall story. But like, again, my problem though is mainly in that I think sometimes maybe companies will, to buy time for other arcs to come in the future, maybe expand storylines, or to cater to the trade paperbacks, they'll expand stories. I'm not sure, but it felt like it went too long. But don't get me wrong, I really do love this book though. Also by issue 5, we see that there was kind of a strange change in color, but maybe that had something to do with the part of the story they were telling. So, or keep in mind that I'm reading this all digitally, and I know that there can be color contrast. So, but I really do love this book. I love the worlds we explore in it. I love the crazy characters and the dark tones of it all, and I love that this is something that is standing on its own away from other titles. There's no crossovers, and there's no event tie-ins, and there's none of that stuff. It's just Thor, his mean-ass hammer, and some great imagination between our creators. And one good thing I could say about issue 5, though, which is my least favorite of the run, was that I thought Jason Aaron's concept of how gods and worlds came to be was pretty cool. Maybe it's been done like that before, I don't know, but it was nicely a nice touch. And I'm all in for the next arc. I know that from reading issue 7 that the tone lightens a bit, and we see some fun interaction between a couple of the different Thors. I hope to see more amongst all of them, but Gore's still around. We're still moving forward with that character, and from what I've seen, though, the threat that he's imposing has reached another level. So, again, this book stands on its own. You don't need to know anything about Marvel or Marvel Universe to read and really enjoy this book. Anybody could pick it up, and I recommend that everybody does.